An Allegheny County judge and 2 attorneys spent the week in Chester County picking jurors for the trial of police involved in the death of Johnny Gamage. What kind of latitude does the court have in selecting and rejecting jurors? And what role, if any, can race play? John P. Gismonti, president of the Allegheny County Bar Association, is the guest of Post-Gazette editor John Craig and associate editor Andres Martinez.
Well, it's good. We're talking about juries that have a couple of lawyers. Usually you don't see a journalist as a lawyer, but Andreas is also a lawyer, as you are, John. Why are we picking a jury in Westchester County for a trial in Allegheny County?
Very simply, John, the Sixth Amendment. The defendant has a right to a fair trial, and traditionally there's been the ruling that if the judge determines that the publicity on a case prior to picking a jury has been so extensive that you run the risk of tainting potential jurors, then the judge has the right to move the jury selection to an area where people have not been exposed to that publicity. It's a judgment call. How much publicity has there been? Does it run the risk of tainting potential jurors?
And how does he pick Westchester County as opposed to some other place?
Well, he didn't pick it. The state Supreme Court picked it and designated Chester as the county from which the jurors would be taken.
So he asked the state Supreme Court, he said, I got a trial here coming up. It's going to have a lot of pretrial publicity. I think it'd be good to go someplace else to get a jury. You tell me where to go?
They designated Chester County, that's correct.
Okay.
Are you troubled by this choice, given we're so accustomed in these high-profile cases to think of race? And there's been a lot of mention of the fact that this is a county that is primarily affluent and it's white. You have a case involving an African-American who has been allegedly beaten to death or asphyxiated by policemen. Is this setting up a scenario like you had in the first Rodney King trial, or the trial of the policeman and the beating of Rodney King, where the trial was moved from Los Angeles to an affluent suburb in Los Angeles? Are you troubled by this?
Well, I think that is a legitimate issue for concern. You know, it's one thing to move the selection process out of the Allegheny County area, but obviously it's been pointed out that the demographics of the county from which you're now going to select these people is markedly different than that which prevails in the county where the incident took place. And the one thing you mentioned, one of the demographics that's certainly distinctly different, is the racial makeup of the population of Chester County versus Allegheny County. I don't know, however, what the basis is on which the Supreme Court chose Chester, but there's no question there is a demographic difference.
How much, do you know, what is the fact in that? How different is the demographic profile?
If I recall, Andres, you may recall, I think that the black population in Chester is at a minimum less than half of what it is in Allegheny County.
Yes, it's about 6% African American.
As opposed to
13% or so in Allegheny County.
I was going to say 11, but I also think that in Chester County, in addition to black population, maybe 6, you have a much larger Hispanic population, which you have no Hispanic population here, but in Chester County you do.
Frankly, I'm not familiar with that. Obviously, we don't have a large Hispanic population.
Well, I used to live there, and at least right across the line, and it does have a large Hispanic population because there's the mushroom businesses there, and it's an agricultural county. So it's not it is not like Allegheny County. It's much smaller,
right?
And its Hispanic population, we don't have anything that's comparable. So it's different in that way too. But I think if you look the two together, it's probably about the same in terms of 90% white, 10% minority.
Judge Cashman, just to interrupt, John, sorry. Judge Cashman is about halfway through, or more than halfway through, picking the jury pool of roughly 60 potential jurors that he needs before the attorneys on both sides can strike jurors using their challenges. And I think that each side is going to have 18 what they call peremptory strikes, where they can winnow down this pool. So far, there are no African Americans on this panel of prospective jurors. Does that suggest, off the base, that this is a tainted jury pool?
You know, it raises another interesting question, not only demographics that influence what makes up that pool. You know, I forget exactly how many hundreds of people he summoned, and out of that total, how many were African American. But obviously, if you don't have many in the pool to begin with, you're not going to end up with many in your final panel. But it's a product not only of the demographics of Chester County. The other thing that people don't focus on is even within Chester County, Those people who are chosen come only from the voter registration rolls. And there are those who would say that that sort of system itself is skewed to exclude certain people. You know, some would suggest, well, maybe we should go for motor vehicle registrations. Maybe we should go from other public rolls, not simply limiting it to voter registration. But the bottom line is that you're correct. There have been few African Americans who have been in the general pool to begin with, and then when they winnow it down, there may not be any on the final panel.